Hello, it's Steve Joordens again. Now this video is especially for those of you participating in the research study, especially the one that's going on in the winter term of 2019. The hope here is to show you some of the sort of special things, I guess, for lack of a better term, that you will need to set up your peerScholar activity in accord with the research project. I'm assuming that you've seen the student side video, so you have a sense of the student experience in peerScholar, and that you've also seen the instructor side video. I'm actually going to kind of build on the instructor side one a little bit. So I'm going to log in as an instructor, and I'm going to log in to the course you guys have now seen a few times. This was the one we played with when we made it. I'm actually going to just delete this one right now. So now I'm back to my the three that you've seen, and it's really, of course, one activity with just this just allows me to get into the 3 phases. But what I want to do is say, okay, let's say we were going to this was our activity that we normally use, but we've agreed to participate in this research project, and there's certain changes we have to make to it. So I'm going to shrink my screen a little bit here, and I'm going to open up this research project instructions. This is what I sent to you all. The critical parts we're going to want are more near the end, but I literally walk you through here step by step the things that you have to do. So I'm going to draw on, I'm literally going to copy and paste things from this document as we go to give you a sense, and I'll walk you through the same process so you can kind of connect the two as you go. So let me now take one of these activities, doesn't matter which one, they're all the same. I'm going to edit it, so it'll bring me back into this. Now, here's the activity I had. The things we have to think about are the following. If we have some rubric, if this is the rubric we're going to use. Now, for you guys, I suggested the value rubric, but I'm just going to use this as an example of another argumentative writing rubric, just to show you how you can do it, essentially with any rubric you want. So this will be the kind of rubric, and let's say I gave this to the students to look at, let them know this is what we're going to use to assess one another. And so now, one of the things we have to do when we get to the peer assessment is we have to create a matrix associated with that rubric. Now, I had one here, and I'm going to edit this, that I've started, and so I might as well just kind of take off from this one. But you can, if you need to create one from scratch, you'd obviously hit this button and hit the matrix button. Actually, let's create one from scratch. Let me give you the sense. So when you create it from scratch, you come in here, and now your trick is to make it match. And in fact, the first thing I would do is tell students something like, please consult the rubric attached with your instructions. And use it as a guide as you score this peer's composition using the matrix below. Okay, because we want them to know they should be looking at this matrix, which gives more details. So if we look at this now, this has below basic, basic, proficient, and advanced. So I'm going to mimic that here. Low basic, basic, proficient, and advanced. And then on this other side, on this other area, we have ideas, purpose, organization. Let me start with those. Ideas, purpose, organization. And there's going to be a couple more we have to add here. Elaboration of evidence, language, and vocabulary. And there was one more at the bottom that was called conventions. Conventions. Okay, so now if you scroll down, you can always scroll down to see what you've created. And here we have the matrix that students can use to score their peers. Now there's one other step, and it can be, well, I don't want to say tricky, but if you look at this little gear here, if you click on that, it tells you the value associated with each of these cells. And the thing with matrices, or thing with rubrics, is sometimes they go up, as we have in our numbers here, and sometimes they go down. And you see, if you actually look at this coding, it's actually going down, right? This is the best thing to do, advanced. So you may have to say, okay, you know what, this is actually a 4. So you may have to go in here and rejig these so that the better thing gets the highest score. This should be a 3. And this just allows the software to auto score, so that we can just get the data out of here and we can get a sense of the quality level that students are scoring each at. So not a big deal, but certainly take a look at these scores, make sure they match your rubric, and then once you get done doing what I'm doing, just kind of sit back and make sure it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. That's all good. Again, it'll look the same to students. Now it's all scoring right. So if I save that, I now have that matrix. I may want to get rid of the other matrix if I were, so that they would just have that one matrix to score. All right, but critical thing, we've attached the rubric and we've now created a matrix that goes along with it. I'm actually going to delete the matrix I just created, despite how much work that was, simply because this is my demo and I don't want to muck with my demo too much. So delete there. All right, so we've attached the rubric, we've created the matrix for the rubric. The other step involves so-called additional assessments. You get at those through this plus sign. Now, my demo actually has some that I used in my demo. You can have some. If you already have some you want to use, you can feel free to use it. I'm asking you to add 7 more. 1 to the assess phase and 6 to the reflect phase. So specifically, the first one, and I'll kind of walk you through this with the assess phase. So I walk you through, for example, creating the matrix and doing that kind of thing here. And then I want you to add this additional assessment. So I talk about them together here. So the first one here is with respect to informed consent. So we want a question in here, and I pick a drop down for this, where we want to inform students of the activity. And so I'm not going to type all this, but I'll say this activity is part of a multi-institutional research project. Activity is part of a multi blah, 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 blah. So I won't type it all, but you would type all of that stuff and get rid of one of these options, and then you end up with how do I actually say it? Yes, I consent to allow you to use my data. I consent to allow you to use my data, or no, I prefer that you do not use my data. Something like that, okay? And so that'll just look like this. They'll get the question, and then they'll be able to pick one of these options, whichever one they choose is fine. But the idea, again, is we've just created this question, we save it, and once we create it, in this case, notice these are associated with the 3 phases. We want to pick the phase. And in this case, it's the assess phase. After they've assessed their peers, we then want to ask them if they're okay with us using that data for our research. Okay, so we've created a custom, an additional assessment for that. And then the last thing I need you to do is to create 6 more. And these are Likert scale questions. Now these are all, if you go to the appendix, they're all here. And so you can do something as simple as copying, pasting here, and then we have, for all of them, these are always strongly disagree to strongly agree. These are the anchor points. And so this would be the first one. That's done. We want that to happen and reflect. And then we would continue on and do the next 6. Okay. So once we've done that, again, just to remind you, make sure the rubric is attached, make sure we have a matrix tool in our peer assessments that's consistent with the rubric, and then make sure we've added these 7 additional assessments, one of them being the opt-in and opt-out of research, 6 of them being these questionnaire questions. These are the questionnaire questions we're asking students. Just to be clear with all of you, we're also going to have a questionnaire for all of you at the end to get your experience going through this process, but that'll be sent to you separately. Okay, but this is how we're getting the students' data. That is it. Other than, let me say the following. If any of this seems, more than you want, actually, I want to delete these 2 that I just created. I just remembered because I don't want to muck with my demo. There we go. Done. If you would like, we don't mind doing all of this stuff for you. So if you would like, you can just create your activity to be the activity you want it to be, and then you can let us know, either myself or Arijit, and we will go in and add the rubric, create the matrix, add these questions. We don't mind doing that one bit. So just know that's there. If you want to do it, do it. If you want us to do it, we'll happily do it as well. That's it. Once you've done that, then your activity is ready research-wise. Yeah, cool. Excellent. Thank you again for your participation. I will shut up. Bye-bye.